It's good to know people that know stuff. I thought I'd got this right. 2 tanks and barrier wagons? But no. Let me explain. Let me start by saying that there are about 8 that I found different types of tank wagons that need barrier wagons. That's because those tanks carry what are deemed to be dangerous materials, and they're grouped together in 8 different categories. So let's start with the most obvious one, and that is inflammable. Now, how do I know that this is inflammable other than it's got fuel oil written on the outside? Well, there's a difference between inflammable and highly inflammable. I won't get scientific, but it's all about the flash point and the point at which, temperature-wise, it goes bang or catches fire. This is inflammable. The tank is not grey or aluminium. It can be any other colour you like. They're usually black for practical reasons. And the sole bar, that's that bit that runs along the length of the wagon above the wheels, isn't red. The next category is highly inflammable. That's where the flash point is lower, it's more likely to catch fire or go bang. This time the tank itself is either grey or aluminium, and the sole bar, that bit above the wheels, is red, a clear indicator that this is highly inflammable, not just flammable. Now, the worst category of combustible materials carried was the spontaneously combustible material, and I've really struggled to find a photograph of a tank wagon that is painted in the appropriate livery to represent spontaneous combustion. And of course, if you think of things like sort of phosphorus and sodium and that kind of thing, the tank would be aluminium and the sole bar would be black. Now, even Daypole, who are guaranteed to produce a wagon in 105 different liveries, I think they've got this one wrong. This is an aluminium tank with a black sole bar carrying motor spirit. I'm not sure that this is spontaneously combustible. I think this should really have a red sole bar as highly inflammable. But I'm not picking holes in Daypole. I'm just saying they're quite rare. Aluminium tank, black sole bar, spontaneous combustion, highly likely. Now, of course, dangerous didn't mean it necessarily had to go bang or catch fire. It could mean that whatever is being carried is a poison or it's corrosive. Now, in either of those 2 cases, the body of the tank won't be white or aluminium. It will be painted in a colour, typically a company livery, and the sole bar will not be red, typically black. The difference between the 2, the poisons and the corrosive acids, will be shown in the notices that are carried on the wagons. Poisons had to have a clear label that simply said poisons. Now, I'm coming right up to date now with a Helljan catalogue picture of a vehicle which is white with black or dark grey sole bars. This is a very modern vehicle, but it shows that the colour schemes that were around in British Railways time have continued. We've talked up until now about liquids. The white tanks are for gas. So this white one is for any gas that is being carried. If it had a red band round the end, 6-inch red band round either end, it would suggest a compressed or liquefied gas. In all cases, black lettering or white lettering on a red background to show exactly what the thing contained, but these are gas tanks. And having gone all modern, I'll go back in time with this picture of a National Benzol wagon. National Benzol was something which really grew up in the days when motor cars were in their early stages. It lasted until the 50s, but it was very much a kind of 20s and 30s thing. And the colours of this vehicle don't correspond with what became the standard colours. So I throw in my usual caveat here of making sure that your area and your era check out with what your tank wagons are displaying. So let me go back to where this whole thing started with a conversation with a friend of mine who is not a railway enthusiast but does know his industries. Now, this vehicle, a crossfield chemical wagon, doesn't have a body that is aluminium or grey or white, and therefore it's not carrying anything hazardous and harmful. It doesn't have a red sole bar, so therefore it's not carrying anything that's going to go bang or hurt us necessarily, but it's still carrying clearly a chemical, and it's clearly marked as chemicals. I had this, as you can see in this photograph, with a highly inflammable motor spirit wagon on the right, aluminium body, red sole bar, between two barrier wagons, and clearly that is wrong. This chemicals wagon is not dangerous chemicals. It's chemicals all the same. As it turns out, this is something to do with the washing powder and laundry industry. Just a quick word about markings on some of these wagons. You'll see a white or a black star. That's a relatively modern thing, and I'm talking about modern in my day of the 1960s. It meant that the vehicle had oil axle boxes and not grease, and could therefore travel at more than 35 miles per hour. Now, it's worth pointing out that the vast majority of tank wagons were privately owned by either the fuel companies or the carriage companies themselves, very few owned by the railway companies. And in order to have them moved around and unloaded and loaded, the private owner companies had to agree a carriage charge with the railway companies. And wagons where that had been done, you'll see this small yellow CC sign. Nerdy, but I thought you might be interested to know what that meant. And another quick reminder that not all tanks were round. In the early days, tanks were half round, probably more to do with manufacturing processes, but things like these tar wagons were traditionally rectangular. So let's go back to where we came in. This is an aluminium tank with a red sole bar. It's therefore highly flammable, therefore it needs barrier wagons, which is what it's got. So this is absolutely fine. This one I'm not convinced about. It's got a corrosive vehicle. The brown vehicle is corrosive. The green one is washing powder or something. So the green one doesn't need to go between two barrier wagons. The brown one does. But this is in the same train as my highly flammable wagon. So therefore, I now have two pairs of barrier wagons. Bit of a waste, you might think. So can these three wagons run together with one pair of barrier wagons? Or would you put one barrier wagon between them? I don't know. If you know, please tell me, because I don't, and we all need to know. And I finish with proof of the more you know, the fewer mistakes you make. This is a formation that I'm running in one of my trains, but these tank wagons are 6 wheels, and if you look at the way the wagons are constructed, these are Daypole unpainted wagons. They're clearly milk tanks. They don't need barrier wagons. So the more you investigate and the closer you look, the fewer mistakes you make. Do come back to me on the barrier wagon thing. I hope the rest makes a load of sense. I'll see you soon.